What is up, everybody around the world? My name's Michael. I want to start off by saying that tonight I'm going to talk about how to win your audiences to your way of thinking, but also I'm going to call on every one of you here. I'm also going to ask you Facebook Live and you Facebook Live what your thoughts are. I want feedback, and really the best way to get something out of this is to be interactive. So I'm just asking that you put yourself out there so that you can actually gain from this. And as I'm up here, I don't have all the answers. You have them all within you, but I want to help you all bring them out and get something actionable to take home and go forward to help you out.
1 second.
So, okay, hold on, Facebook. 1 second. Keep going?
Yep.
Okay, so the title of this speech, talk, forum, whatever you want to call this here, is how to win over your audiences to your way of thinking. But I want to talk about what that even means and why you should even care, how this is relevant to you. So obviously this is the Young Entrepreneurs NYC, and the most obvious reason that you're going to be communicating with your audiences is if you're doing sales, if you're doing marketing, you're doing advertising, you're putting forth your message out there. If you're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, and you're putting out your ideas out there, and you want to gain customers, you want to get new clients. Or if, let's say you're not self-employed, but you have a job and maybe you want a higher position, maybe you want better income, and you need to convince your boss that you deserve it, that you are the right person, that you need that more money or that better position. Or let's say you're not even employed at all, not self-employed, but you're going into an interview and you want to get a job. You want to show the prospective manager, employer, that you are the right person for the job. But we're always communicating, we're always selling ourselves, and we're always putting ourselves out there, and we're communicating with these audiences, and we want the audiences to do something with our messages that we're putting out there. And so that's what this all is about. Now, for myself, how I do this on a day-to-day basis is I do Facebook advertising, I do video advertising on YouTube. My website landing page is built into the material that we're going to talk about. If I'm doing a speech, I give the same material. If I'm having a one-on-one conversation with someone that is interested and possibly interested in what I have to offer. And what you'll notice too, that when you listen to a commercial or you watch a commercial, you'll realize that everything that we talk about here is actually constructed and used in commercials. So this isn't just me putting this out there, but if you pay attention, this is what advertisers everywhere use. So this is going to be relevant information, and I want to make it relevant to you. So the first question I want to ask you all, and first come, first serve, but how are you communicating to your audiences? Yeah, exactly, and that'll be part 2 of the equation. So you're jumping ahead of the gun, but which platforms are you communicating with people on? Facebook, Facebook Live, Snapchat, blogs, emails. If you're doing an email post, is someone responding down there?
Yeah, 30 seconds.
Okay, so if you're sending out emails, if you're writing an article, whether it be just on your own website, on your own blog, if you're sending this to Entrepreneur Magazine or whatever you are, you're communicating with your audiences. So who am I, and what really gives me the right to speak before you all? How do I know what I'm talking about? Well, first of all, I've been speaking for about 4 years now. And by speaking, I don't just mean speaking English. I mean speaking on stage in front of other people. I've been involved in the Toastmasters organization, and I've been designated an advanced speaker. I've mentored over 100 individuals on how to speak in public. And I've mentored people that were so afraid that they could barely say their name in front of a group of people. And I've mentored people that are paid professionals getting paid week after week to speak in front of audiences. And I, in fact, led a 6-month program for people, professional speakers, on how to develop their keynote presentation and deliver that to their audiences. Most recently, I launched my own business where I'm selling public speaking courses online. But I know how to communicate with an audience, I know how to develop the message, and I've been helping other people do the same. So, are you all ready to jump right in and find out what you need to include? Okay, so these are the actual steps that you need to include in your marketing, in your communication. However you're communicating with your audience, you need to communicate these ideas. The first one, you need to know who your audience is, who that actual person is. Now, whether you state that explicitly or not is completely up to you. But earlier I mentioned that this is for the young entrepreneur, this is for any business owner, this is for the person looking for a job or who is self-employed. I was specific. And as I'm marketing my online public speaking courses, I'm specific there as well. I talk about how it's for young professionals, young entrepreneurs, and this is going to save you time, this is going to save you money, this is going to save your audience money, and this is going to teach you how that you can actually get into the audience's shoes and speak to them from their perspective. So who are you speaking to? Let me ask you that. Who are your audiences?
People who want to transition from jobs to their own businesses.
Okay.
That's who I'm targeting.
So people that are looking to be self-employed. Okay. And so when your audiences are constantly deciding whether or not they're going to do business with you. They're constantly deciding whether or not they trust you or not. And they're always judging you, whether it's subconsciously or it's conscious and active. But you need to know who that person is so that you can direct your marketing to them. So for instance, I said that I'm marketing towards young professionals. Now when I say that explicitly, someone who identifies himself as a young professional is going to automatically identify with myself and my message. Now if I was marketing towards an older crowd, I wouldn't use the term young professionals. I just wouldn't. So know who you are speaking to. You can state it explicitly, or you can just build your other messaging around it. Now the next thing that you have to include is motivation. Now this is probably the biggest piece of the puzzle, and I want to talk about this in a couple different ways, and this is very important. There's positive motivation and negative motivation. And we're all familiar with Tony Robbins here. I'm pretty sure there's not going to be a single person who doesn't know what it is. But he says that in life, we're either working towards something or we're running away from something. And an exact quote of his is that in life, we either need inspiration or desperation. And that means that's either positive motivation or negative motivation. And neither one is right, neither one is wrong. It just depends what is relevant and what is pertinent to you and the audience, and how does that relate to your audience. So for example, me marketing my public speaking courses, if I wanted to motivate someone positively, I would say that these classes can help you gain confidence. When you go for my classes, you can learn how to develop a speech. You can learn how to properly present the speech. If I wanted to talk about negative motivation, I could talk about overcome your fear of public speaking. You are going to run away from the fear of public speaking, or no more bad speeches. Basically, you're running away from that. So the motivation is either positive or negative. Let's say for instance, I want to make this all relatable to you. So if someone's studying for a grade in school, right? And they're either going to study because they want an A, or maybe they just don't want to fail. That's different motivations, but they're both going to study just the same, and the one that's doing positive motivation is the one that's working towards an A. The one that's working with negative motivation is running away from the F. If, for instance, you have a health business and you want to market towards someone that will buy your health product or go to your gym, there's different types of motivation. Some people will work towards having a healthy body or towards having a better looking body, and some people will work from having an ugly body, whatever they may define that as. So this is just how people are motivated. So let me ask you all, how are your audiences motivated? What's the positive motivation or negative motivation of the people that you speak with?
Just trying to better their life.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
looking to gain something
Mm-hmm.
versus trying to lose something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
They
Okay.
want to improve. They want to get better.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's an example of positive motivation. So you're reaching out toward those people that are working towards that better future. But in your messaging, you might want to include something such as leave your past behind and into your brighter future. Something like that. That can touch on both motivation. That might speak to someone else. I'm not saying either one is right. I'm just saying the motivation that there is. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Have any of you heard of this? Okay, so simple terms are internal or external motivation. If you want to do something because you want to do it, that's intrinsic motivation. If you want to do something because you think someone else wants you to do it, or you want to meet social norms, that's extrinsic motivation. So I'm going to use some of the same examples just so that you can really cement the concepts in your mind. So in my business, someone might want to give a speech because they want to communicate their ideas. They might want to communicate with their audiences. They might have a message that they want to share with the world. But at the same time, there might be the speaker that has to give a speech. There might be the speaker that is in a new job and they have to do some presentations, and their boss is telling them, next Friday you're going to have to give a speech. So that's extrinsic motivation. The first one is because you want to do it, and the second one is because someone else wants you to do it. And those are two different ways. And also, going back to the health business, let's say you want to have a healthy body, you want to have a good immune system, and that's why you're working towards becoming more healthy. That's internal. Or if you want a better body because you want to attract other people, that's extrinsic. You're doing it for other people. You're not doing it for your own benefit. Or back to the grades. If you're studying because you want to, because you have a desire and a thirst for knowledge, that's intrinsic motivation. Or if you're going out there because your parents telling you that you have to have a good grade and they're not going to give you your allowance or they're not going to buy you the car, that's extrinsic motivation. So people are either doing things for positive motivation or negative motivation, but then there's another axis that's either internal motivation or external motivation, intrinsic and extrinsic. So let me ask you, what are your audience motivated by, intrinsically or extrinsically? And so the reason that I'm really asking you all this is I want you all to tailor it all to your own audience, to your people. And I started with the first step is that you need to know who your audience is. The reason you need to know who your audience is because for the rest of the formula, for understanding the motivation, you need to understand what motivates your actual audience. You need to actually be able to step into their shoes and speak to them, because when the audience thinks you're speaking to them, that's when they're going to relate to you, that's when they're going to relate to your message. So if you know your audience, the better you know them, the better you can talk about their motivation, the better you can craft your message to that specific individual. So that's the second step of the formula, the equation, whatever you want to call it. Know your audience, then you have to actually find out what motivates them. The next thing is you have to speak about yourself. And you have to talk about who you even are. Because think about it. I know this is difficult for some of us. Some people don't want to feel so egotistical if we speak about ourselves too much. We might be uncomfortable with that. We've grown up thinking that pride is a bad thing, that it's bad to brag about yourself. But when you're communicating with an audience, the audience needs to trust you. For example, if I wanted you to buy from me, I need you to trust me, right? And if you need your audience to buy from you, then you need your audience to trust you. It's as simple as that. And if they don't know who you are, then they're not going to trust you. And if you just skip over this step, then they're not going to know who you are or really what you have to bring to the table. Let's say you're looking for a trainer, and you want to either learn a new sport, you want to learn kickboxing, or you just want to get in better shape. Would you go for the person that is out of shape? No, you wouldn't. If you went to learn a business, would you sign up with someone that didn't already start their own business? No. If someone said, I'll teach you how to make $1 million, but they haven't made $1 million themselves, you wouldn't trust that person. So you need to actually step up to the plate and brag about yourself. You need to tell your audience what accomplishments you have, what awards you have, what makes you the credible authority on that specific topic, and how you are that person to be trusted. Does that make sense? So for example, earlier, I wanted to start my speak. I told you who I was and what I've actually accomplished, about my speaking credentials, because I wanted you to know that you can trust me. And I convey this in all my marketing, on my landing page, on my advertisements. Your audience wants to know who you are. And for example, some people don't even think they have credentials. I've worked with a lot of people. Some people are like, well, I haven't really done anything. Sometimes just by knowing someone, you can use that person as an extension, or from where you've worked, you can use that as a credential. For instance, I have a friend who worked for the Dale Carnegie Association. That name is so recognizable that when she says she works for the Dale Carnegie Association, people automatically trust her. Or I also knew someone who's a speaker, Judy Carter. She was on the same stage with Hillary Clinton. Now this was before the election, so whatever your thoughts are there, it doesn't matter, but she's still a credible authority. So given the fact that she used the same stage as Hillary Clinton, that gave her credibility. Hello. You can pull up a chair. We can't move the tables, but you can pull up a chair. We got two Facebook Lives going to camera, and you're our next guest. Facebook Live, we just had someone joining with us today.
Introduce each other.
Yeah, we did an icebreaker at the beginning, but we'll say hi again at the end. So I was actually listening to Pandora on my way over here today, and I heard a pillow commercial. And on the pillow commercial, the guy was talking about who he is and what gives him the authority. So the way that he phrased it is just like you, just like all of us, I've been having a hard time sleeping. That's why I invented this new pillow, whatever you call it. So his credibility, his authority is relating to the audience, and that he's experienced the same thing. And when you talk about your journeys, your personal stories, your professional stories, if you talk about your A to B, that is going to show that you're the credible authority, especially when you can go into that story and show your audience where you were and show them where you are today. That is how you gain their trust and gain credibility. For example, in the pillow commercial, if he was tired, was having horrible night's sleep, now he's not, well, he's shown you that he has gone from A to B and that he is the proper authority to be learning from. So let me ask you all, what are some other ways, credentials that you can all bring up to your audiences? Some awards. Public speaking. Testimonials, social proof, definitely.
Who you're affiliated with.
Definitely.
Press mentions?
Press, definitely. And in fact, I have a speaker that, he's not a very well-known speaker, but the thing is, he's worked with amazing companies, Sony, Bose, Disney, L'Oreal, and those are brand names. People connect with those brands. And so just by the fact that he has spoken for those companies and done trainings for those companies, that gives him credibility. So all the credibility that you have, you need to demonstrate that to your audience. Okay, so far we've told our audience who they are, we know who they are, we've talked about the motivation of why they should be listening to us, either what they can gain from listening to us or what they have to lose if they don't listen to us, the negative motivation. We've talked about who we are. And the next step is we actually have to deliver on that promise. And this is your methodology. And this is what is unique to you. You've probably heard the term unique selling proposition. but you need to talk about why. You need to talk about what you actually have to deliver. What do you have to bring to the table? So for myself, there's plenty of other people doing public speaking courses, but I happen to offer it in a 3-part series. The first part is how to gain confidence in public speaking. The second is how to organize and develop a speech. The third one is how to present a speech. Now, a lot of people talk about the second and third parts, and they ignore gaining confidence as a public speaker, when that's half the battle right there. When you can be confident, that's already half the battle in giving a speech. And so I really like to focus and drill down on that when in my messaging. Also, to be honest with you, what I have to offer, my courses, you can get all of it online for free, but you have to go through plenty of Google searches, you have to read tons of articles, you don't know the proper organization. So I've gone through the actual time to actually organize it into a methodical course structure. Now, for instance, does anyone listen to podcasts here? Have every single person? Okay, good job. Have you heard of Entrepreneur on Fire? No. That's one of the #1 trending podcasts on all of it. You got to check it out. It's fresh content every day, 30-minute podcasts. But the host is Lee Dumas, and he has a freedom journal that he markets. He does the podcast for free, but he markets a freedom journal. And so the freedom journal is how to achieve any goal in 100 days. And you just have to follow that. And that's his methodology. That's his promise. Because you've told people why they need to be motivated. Now you need to show them how they can actually do it. If you've told them that they can get a better body or they can be healthier, now you have to show them how they're actually going to do that. You need to introduce your methodology. So what are your all methodologies? Or just an idea? This is just brainstorming here. What's a methodology that you have to offer? What makes you unique? Charisma, charm? Yeah, definitely. And it doesn't have to be something that no one else has. It just has to be your strength, what you bring to the table, but your methodology. So strength, charisma, being genuine, definitely.
Very open.
Being open, honest, authentic. These are plenty of things. Has anyone heard of John C. Maxwell?
Yes.
He does a lot of leadership courses, but he does, like, let's say 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. That's his methodology. It's an exact layout, an exact scheme. Now, for every different person, this is going to be unique to yourself, but you need to focus on your strengths. And I like to think of it as adding value. And how are you adding value to your audience? And it doesn't necessarily relate to a sale right away. For instance, I do Facebook videos or YouTube videos. I do blogs almost every week, and I deliver this content for free. And you add value, and you show them that you're the credible source. So these are things that you need to include. Now, the next and final thing that you need to include in your messaging is a call to action. Because by this point, your audience already knows that you're the person to do business with. They're probably willing to sign up. They're willing to open your video, download your blog, download your app, do whatever it is. But unless you ask specifically for a certain call to action, they're not going to know what you need and how to help you or what's the next step. And I've seen people do this. They go into, and by the way, let me say this too, that all of these steps, you have to have every single one. And let me say why. The motivation, if you skip past the motivation, I had a friend do this, and he was selling a book, very close friend, but he didn't tell anyone what the book was about. He didn't tell people why they should buy it. He didn't tell them. He just said, buy my book. You know what I mean? And that's ridiculous. You can't skip past motivation. And you also can't skip past who you are, because if you skip past that, then you're skipping past building trust with your audience. You're skipping past people knowing who you are. And if you skip past a call to action, then what was the point of even communicating with the people anyway? Like, the call to action can be simple. It can be just like my page or like my post or share this with the world. It doesn't have to be buy my book or buy my $1,000 course every single time. And by the way, my course isn't $1,000. I hope you didn't think that. But it doesn't have to be something complicated or expensive every single time. It can be simple. But you want to let your audience know specifically what you want them to do with your message. And if you're giving a speech or you're speaking to someone, it can be as simple as motivating them or giving them an actionable step in their day. It doesn't have to be relate to a sale. It can just literally be helping them so that next time they implement that step, they think of you. That can be the call to action. But you need to leave your audience with something. Now today, I'm hoping you all take this formula. I've asked you all, but when you're crafting your next message, I really need you all to think about all of these steps. And you need to make sure that you include these and that you address these, because this is very, very important. And I'm telling you, listen to a commercial. On your way home, you're probably going to be listening to Pandora or YouTube. You'll go home tonight, see a TV commercial. Watch them. They're going to have this exact material in them. So you need to have this exact material in your messaging. So that's it. Know who your audience is, know how to motivate them, talk about who you are, brag about yourself, introduce your methodology, and have your call to action. That is how you need to craft your message, no matter how you present your message. So thank you all for listening. And by the way, what is my call to action? I want all of you to go to my website. Just check it out, michealpeggins.com. And my name's spelled a little weird, Micheal, but I'll link it below in the doop-de-doop. And go check it out. If you're interested in public speaking at all, I do offer the courses, but also I have free videos, free blogs on there. You can connect with me on social media. But I don't want any of you to leave this and not do anything with my message. So when you're done, when you're crafting your next message, think of these steps. When you're writing your next blog post, when you're doing your next video, you're coming up with the title. Think of all these steps and make sure that you include them. So go out there and do something great. Thank you. Bye Facebook Live. Bye Facebook Live. Bye Panasonic Full HD.
You got to get out there and you got to make moves. You got to do what you got to do. Nothing is going to come to you. Don't expect anything to come to you. And if you want these things and you dream of these things and you don't make any effort and make any moves consistently to go out and get it, and there's nothing wrong with that either. As long as you don't make any excuses